I hate being right all the time. I really do. In my last video, I talked a lot about the in-season tournament, mainly about pool play and the first round of the knockout stages. And I admitted I was wrong. I was wrong about the in-season tournament. I said that I was skeptical about it going into the season and even for much of the regular season. I was skeptical and I didn't think it would work and I didn't think it would be successful. I didn't quite understand it. And I was wrong about that. The first round especially was a massive success and a massive hit. And also in that video, I admitted I was wrong, but I also expressed some worries and some hesitancies moving forward as the tournament shifted into a neutral playing ground in Vegas. And you may be saying, Kaz, why are you still talking about the in-season tournament that happened like a week ago? Yeah, that's exactly why I'm still talking about it because it's been what it's been half a week or almost a week or so. And I feel like it's just a thing that happened and it's already passed us by, and that the Lakers winning the championship holds no meaning and holds no weight moving forward, and we kind of are just gonna forget that it ever happened. And I'll get into more about that later. But before we talk more about the in-season tournament, I want to introduce a new segment that I'm going to try. I don't know if it'll stick. I don't know if I'll keep doing it, but I'm calling it NBA news that probably only one person in the world cares about. And what this segment is, I'm just going to talk about NBA news that may have flown under the radar or news that probably nobody cares about, frankly. So, Taj Gibson signed with the Knicks. All right, moving on. Back to the in season tournament. And the crowds were amazing in the first round of the knockout stages. They were so into it. And in my last video, I talked about if the players don't care about this, if they don't care about the in-season tournament, the fans will not care whatsoever, and that will be evident. And from the jump, from the first pool play game, it was clear that the players cared about this. The players cared about the in-season tournament, and the fans responded. The fans were amazing in the first round. They created such a good atmosphere. They were electric. And in my last video, I said that I was worried about a neutral Vegas crowd, especially with it being such a gambling and bet heavy market. And I wasn't necessarily right about that. I haven't heard any complaints from fans about just like the gambling side of the game or whatever. But I was right about a neutral crowd. The crowds comparably were so much worse than the home crowds in the first round. I don't know if it was just like the TV broadcast and the production aspect of it. I don't know if they were just pumping in less crowd noise or what it was, but it did not hold the same weight as a home crowd. And why was the crowd sitting in the dark? Why were they sitting in the dark? It completely sucked the atmosphere out of it. And one of my favorite things about playoff basketball, and as I mentioned, the in season tournament emulated just a tiny bit of what playoff basketball was, and that's why it was so exciting. But one of my favorite things about playoff basketball is being able to see the crowd and see their reactions. And my favorite part is when a big shot goes up or somebody shoots a big three. You can kind of feel and see everybody lean to the front of their seat and they're just hanging on, and the crowd goes silent just for a fraction of a second, but it feels like forever. And when the ball goes through the net, you can see everybody in the stadium raise their hands in unison cheering. And it's one of my favorite visuals about playoff basketball. It's so much fun and so electric. It's great. And the crowd sitting in the dark, you can't see anything. It's like they're at the movie theater. I don't understand why they were sitting in the dark. It completely sucked the atmosphere out of it. The home crowds are so much better. This was a worry I had, and I was 100% right about it. And I'm not just here to toot my own horn all video. I'm not right about everything, even though I said I was. But moving on, why are the Lakers raising a banner for this? I've been making jokes for a long time about the winner raising a banner, a midseason championship banner to the rafters, but they're actually doing it. Why are they doing this? It makes no sense. And I maybe if like the Pacers won, it would make a little bit more sense because they don't really have as much to hang their hat on as the Lakers do. But as such a storied franchise as the Lakers with 17 rings, 17 banners, 17 trophies, why are you raising a mid-season championship banner? If it feels a little disrespectful to everything that they've accomplished throughout the history of the NBA. Like maybe you're like spitting on all these banners or something like that. I have no idea. But like are they gonna have a parade too? Are they gonna have a parade for this? That'd be ridiculous if they did. I can't see them taking time out of the season to actually have a parade, but that'd be incredible if they did. That I would not be in support of that. What this is kind of like it's kind of like if your sister got into Cornell Law or some shit, and your parents like post the acceptance letter like on the fridge for your family and like relatives to see when they come over for the holidays, and then you come home with your 76 on your 8th grade algebra test, and they put that shit right up next to it. Like just the disrespect, man. I don't even know if that's a good example. I'm not really the accomplishments guy. So, anyways, I digress. Let's move on. Why did LeBron win MVP in this game? It made no sense. In no world did LeBron deserve MVP in this. Anthony Davis had a 40-20 game, which he'll probably do like 3 times all season. Just an insane stat line. Like he could have cured cancer out there on the floor, and he was not winning this. He was not winning this MVP. And I get like the narrative: LeBron's on his last legs, first in season tournament ever. You want the most marketable guy to win MVP, and I get that. But Anthony Davis was the best player in this game, hands down. And then the other problem I have with this, why why is the MVP a fan vote? That makes no sense at all. And like that speaks to why LeBron won as well, just like the popularity contest as well. But I was even going to bet on a LeBron MVP, but I didn't because I thought betting on MVP was dumb. Yeah, I didn't even know it was a fan vote at the time. So I just ended up betting on the Lakers. And yeah, I disregard like fuck whatever I was about to say. That's completely out the window. I just had an idea. With this being a fan vote and assuming that the process is not rigged. I know that's a lot to assume about the NBA, but assuming that this process is not rigged and the voting process is strictly via the fans, I have an idea. I have an idea. This is good too. All right. So what if as a society we all joined hands in unison? How great would that be? Just world peace through this idea. We take down Vegas. With it being a fan vote, why not? Why don't we just pick 2 random motherfuckers who have 0 shot at the MVP? Like for example, in this past game, what if we picked like Rui Hachimura and Aaron Neesmith for MVP? And we just poured all our money as a group into those 2 players. And then when it came time to vote, depending on who's winning, we just pump the votes for Neesmith and Hachimura. And then we shut the lights out in Vegas. We shut the lights out in Vegas. Who says no? Never doubt a group of DJs and a dream. That's all I'm saying. I think it could work. Who says no? It's probably highly illegal. Probably highly illegal what I just suggested, but it's worth a shot, right? Anyways, what I want to see moving forward with the in-season tournament, because I know this video, I've been kind of saying what's been wrong with it and what I don't like about it, but that doesn't take away anything that I said about in my last video about how I was wrong. I was still completely my initial thoughts about the in-season tournament were still completely wrong. This has been a massive success for the NBA, and the product has been great to watch. But there are some tweaks that I would like to see moving forward. And the first one is don't have it in Vegas every year. Don't have it in Vegas every year. I get I get the point of it being in Vegas was to get basketball into an expansion market like Las Vegas, and eventually there will be a team in Las Vegas. That's inevitable. I get it was to raise the market and everything to get a team in Las Vegas, but I would like to see this tried in other cities that don't have teams. It would be cool to see basketball, especially basketball that means something, go to a place where there is not a team that may be dying to have basketball, like Seattle or St. Louis or Vancouver or Montpelier, Vermont. Not that one. Um, but or maybe even have international games. They already have international games in Paris. There's another game this year in Paris. They've had games in Mexico City. They already do international games with just like these two random teams. It would be cool to send a game that actually means something, a championship game, or yeah, a championship game that actually means something to another country to get to broaden the game. I think that would be cool because usually it's just these games that don't really matter. They send like the Pistons and the Magic or something overseas for them to see. It would be cool to get a really good product in a foreign market. I think that could be a success for building the game of basketball. And another thing I'd want to see is make the championship, only the championship, a neutral playing ground. I'm still not totally bought into a neutral playing ground, but I understand why the NBA would want that. But I don't think there's need for both the semifinal and the final to be. Sorry, I knocked my mic. I don't think there's need for the both the semifinal and the final to be on a neutral playing ground because like I said, the first round of the knockout stages were by far the best round. The home crowds made the tournament at its best. The home crowds were great. They were so into it, and to take that away made no sense to me at all. And it it showed. It showed. Um and I'm sure the owners would be on my side with this as well because only the championship game counted as a non-regular season game. Everything else, pool play, the first two rounds of the knockout stages, those all counted as regular season games. Those all counted as games that count towards the standings. And because of that, what was it? The Lakers hosted in the semifinal, and I believe the Bucks hosted in the semifinal. Those counted as home games for those two teams. They missed out on a home game. They only get to play 40 home games now this year. And I'm sure the owners aren't super happy about that. They want every chance they can get to put money in their pocket. And taking a home game away sucks. And taking the home crowd away in high leverage moments sucks. And having it in Vegas, the crowd was easily worse than what it was at the home stadiums. So that could be a change that I'd like to see. And the final change and the most important change that I'd like to see is making these games matter in November and December was great. And I kind of like hinted at this at the beginning of the video, but making these games matter early in the season has been amazing, especially because a lot of fans don't really start tuning into basketball until after Christmas, mainly because football's on, and a lot of times the NBA season kind of starts off slow and takes a minute to get into the flow of everything. And I understand that. And making these games matter was a lot of fun. It increased the watchability early on in the season, and it was a great success. But as I said in the beginning, this feels like it was now just a thing that happened. It's something that passed us by, and we're going to look back in a couple months and be like, oh yeah, the Lakers won the in-season tournament. I completely forgot about that. And my thought is to make this matter, to make this hold weight moving in further into the season. And how do we do that? How do we make this matter past the championship? And I think that it should have some implications on playoffs, have some sort of incentive other than the $500,000 incentive they get for winning. And I was actually talking with a buddy about this recently, about just brainstorming about different ways we can get this to work. And the first one we had was an automatic playoff bid, and that seems pretty egregious, and I agree, because a free playoff bid allows a team just to coast to the playoffs, allows teams to sit their stars, sit their players, and makes the rest of their season not matter whatsoever. And that is not good for the NBA. And literally the one thing that they're trying to stop is to get teams from sitting their players. And that would just have a complete opposite effect. But we were on the right track. The next idea we had was, all right, maybe an automatic playoff bid is too much. What about an automatic play-in bid? If your season is derailed because of injuries or things just don't go right, for winning the NBA in-season tournament, you at least have that backup plan if shit hits the fan, that you will make the play-in tournament. And it wouldn't completely incentivize teams to sit their players, because ideally you want to get above that in season tournament and lock up a higher seed and not have to go through that one and done gauntlet. But that still feels like a little much, guaranteeing a playoff spot. If a team, like, God forbid, if the Pistons somehow won the in-season tournament, they have 2 wins all year. If they somehow won and got or not in-season tournament, if they got a play-in tournament bid just for winning, that would not be good, because they absolutely do not deserve to be there. So the final thing that we talked about, which I do think could matter and could be fun, is if the Lakers, for example, got to choose their first round opponent in the playoffs. That would be fun. Say, for example, the Lakers make the playoffs and they say, we want to play the Pelicans in the first round. That creates a little bit of a rivalry narrative. The Pelicans are like, "Oh, you chose us to play in the first round. We're ready to go." And it creates watchability and a rivalry. And if the Lakers were to lose that series, you can already see NBA Twitter going off. You can already see the memes circulating about how they chose their opponent and they lost. And it would create this slight narrative that would be good for the first round of the playoffs, because much like the regular season, the playoffs don't really pick up until the second round or the conference finals, and it would create more watchability in the first round of the playoffs. And I don't think it's that much of an advantage to choose your first round opponent. It doesn't last the entire playoffs. It doesn't guarantee you getting to the playoffs. It's just choosing who you want to play. And I think it could be fun for the fans and create a lot of narratives moving forward. And it would also allow for this in-season tournament to matter past December, because we're just going to forget about this. Have some sort of implication moving forward into the season to make this matter and to make more incentive for players to want to win this thing. And with that said, I do think the in-season tournament was a success, especially for it being in its first season. There are some changes I'd like to see to make this even better, but the in-season tournament has a lot of promise and a lot of potential. I'm excited for where this goes, and this absolutely will be a thing moving forward in the future, especially if the players care about it as much as they did this year. If that happens, the fans are only going to get more into it. This is going to be a staple in the NBA. Traditions aren't created in one year. This is absolutely something that will stick, and I'm excited to see where it moves going forward.